What's up guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you're doing good. Today we're going to be talking about the brand new Valheim update that just hit the test servers and will hit the public servers very soon. It's finally here. I'm super hyped. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Well, let's do it. Let's check out everything new in the Hilda's request update. All right, so this is the main thing. Hilda, she's a brand new NPC in the game that is just like her brother Hildir, and she is also a merchant. From Hilda, you can buy a bunch of new items that are mostly cosmetic. You can see here you can buy a simple dress, simple tunic, a red cap, a purple cap, a sparkler, an iron pit, and a barber kit. We're going to talk a little bit about some of these items later on. But this stuff just costs gold, so this is awesome because it means that gold has a brand new purpose. But that is not all. There's much more going on with Hilda than meets the eye. So let's jump into that because this actually involves some brand new dungeon types. Hilda, by the way, always spawns in the meadows, just like Hildir spawns in the Black Forest, except there are actually more Hilda spawns, but it does work the same way where whenever you find your first Hilda spawn, she won't appear in the other locations. Okay, here it is. This is a Smoldering Tomb. As you can see, it's kind of just a variation of a regular burial chamber, but it's got these torches outside. But inside, you may be surprised what we're going to find. Okay, so first of all, inside, things do look a little bit different. And some of the room layouts and stuff are actually a little bit unique compared to a regular burial chamber. In here, you are going to find some regular skeletons, just like usual. However, you also have these ancient coffins where the skeletons actually burst out of them like this, which is such a cool animation. But there is actually something very special, which I'm hoping I can find for you guys. Oh, here it is. One of the new bosses, Brenner. So this is one of 3 new mini bosses added to the game, and it is actually required in order to unlock new stuff at the new trader. Obviously we have a Mistwalker here, so it's not going to be too difficult. Okay, so now Brenner is defeated. The boss actually dropped this Hilda's brass chest. These things, by the way, are super heavy and they cannot be teleported. They weigh 200, so you're going to need a strength belt and you're going to have to take them with your boat. However, once you have found one, you walk up to Hilda and then use the item on Hilda and boom. Look at this super cool animation. And now, if you talk to Hilda, more clothing items have actually been unlocked. And you can see some of them actually are starting to get a little bit more expensive. So basically, the clothes just get fancier and fancier the more you unlock. But before we look at some clothes, let's check out the other dungeons and bosses. It's also worth noting, by the way, that the unique dungeons to find these Hilda's chests from defeating the mini bosses are actually very rare. So far, I'm only noticing about 3 of each in an entire world. So this essentially makes these mini bosses and these chests and the clothing that you get out of them by giving them to Hilda a kind of rare collectible in game. So this is the Howling Cavern. This again is a slight variation of the ice caves in the mountains. You can see that it has these blue fires outside, and inside is actually another mini boss. This is Gahafa, the other mini boss. This boss takes a little longer to defeat and is much more difficult, so I'm probably going to skip ahead a little bit because I just want to show you guys all of the new stuff. Alright, so once you've defeated the boss, it will actually drop another chest. This is the silver chest. It's worth noting, by the way, that each of these mini bosses does have a trophy. Then you hand this chest to Hilda and you get another super cool animation. And this also unlocks a ton more stuff. This is the sealed tower. This is actually pretty epic because it represents a new type of dungeon in Valheim that is actually called an open dungeon because you actually have to climb inside it instead of just teleporting to a different location when you go through the door. And as the name suggests, there is actually no door. You actually have to climb in either through a balcony or the very top to get inside. You can do this just by placing ladders on walls. They actually do stick to it even though it doesn't look like it. So it's actually easier than it looks to get inside, but I think this is actually a really cool detail to add some kind of weird parkour element to getting access to a dungeon. Anyway, once you get up, it's basically just a crazy fueling camp on steroids. It's the same loot, but there's these traps everywhere and tons of fuelings to deal with. So yeah, I hope you've been practicing fighting fuelings because you're gonna have a lot of enemies to deal with here. But basically the goal once you get in is just to keep going down all the way to the ground floor. You occasionally meet these iron gates which you can actually just smash by attacking, and you gotta keep an eye out for traps because they do set traps all over the place. But what you're looking for is the next stairwell down, like here for example. And you just keep rinsing and repeating this until you get all the way to the bottom. Once you get to the bottom, you'll be greeted with another boss called Zil. This one is essentially a shaman on steroids. This is actually one of the cooler looking ones. It's kind of more unique, I would say. Actually, it's an extra ugly looking fueling. Then when you finally defeat Zil, you get the bronze chest. And you've guessed it, you hand it back to Hilda, you get another cool animation and more epic clothing. There's actually so much clothing, I'm not going to go through it all, but I'm just going to buy one of the most expensive items just to show you how fancy things can get. Like this dress, for example, which actually looks awesome. Basically, the more expensive it is, the more elaborate the clothing looks. Then we've got the world modifiers that allow you to customize a bunch of stuff about your game. You can get super nitty gritty and change things like toggle build cost, passive enemies, no map, player-based raids. There's a slider for combat difficulty, death penalty, resource rate, raid rate, and portals. You can reset it back to normal as well, which is basically the way Iron Gate intends you to play the game, at least for the first time. But then you've got a bunch of presets. You've got easy, and I'm just going to read the description of each of these instead of going super in detail. Combat is easier, and there are fewer raids on your base. For hard, combat is harder and monsters will raid your base more often. Hardcore, combat is a lot harder and enemies will raid your base more often. When you die, all your skills and all the items you're carrying will be lost forever. You have no map and you may not use portals. I actually think this is a super interesting way to do hardcore. I've actually been telling people for ages that we shouldn't be calling no death hardcore because it's just the name of a game mode in other games, and I've always felt that Iron Gate aren't necessarily going to do it that way, and yeah, they didn't. So I like that they've done something unique. This is still very punishing. You got casual. In casual mode, combat is a lot easier. Enemies will not attack until you provoked, and there are no raids on your base. Resources are more plentiful, and you will not drop items or lose skills on death. You got hammer mode. In hammer mode, you can build all build pieces for free once you've discovered a recipe. There's no raids on your base, and enemies will not attack you until provoked. Other difficulty settings are normal. Then we have immersive. In immersive mode, you have no map and you may not use portals. You will need to use your own wits to keep track of where you are in the world. Other difficulty settings are normal. There's also a couple of new crafting upgrades. For the Black Forge, we have the Vice. This is going to allow you to upgrade your Black Forge weapons up an additional level. And for the Golden table, we have these unfading candles. I actually love the model for this, by the way. Super cool looking. And same goes for this. It's just going to allow you to level things up. On the Golden table, one additional level. We also have a new piece of furniture, which is the Barber table. And this requires the barber kit that you buy from Hilda, which is 600 gold. So this is a nice addition and a nice reason to find Hilda. You can sit down here and change your hairstyle and your hair color and change your beard anytime you want, which I think is actually awesome. We also have the new iron fire pit, which requires the fire pit item that you buy from Hilda as well. There's also this sparkler and a bunch of new fireworks that can be bought from Hilda also. And that basically covers everything. There's a few more minor things, like there's new music, there's a quick stack button, and you can press Shift E to quickly place all items already in a container from your inventory, which basically just means if you have a stack, you can instantly transfer it. You can now manually choose a snapping point with Q and E for precise building, and you can skip the intro sequence by pressing Escape and accessing the menu during the intro. Plus there's a new controller scheme. But yeah, that's just pretty minor, so I don't think it's really worth showing. All right guys, that's just about gonna do it for this video. I'm absolutely hyped about this update, and I hope you are as well. I think it's actually super fun. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like and a nice positive comment for the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe for future content. I do actually stream live on this very YouTube channel and also live on Twitch at twitch.tv/NickRawcliffe, so I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested in that. If If you want to support the content and help keep my dream alive, the best way you can do that is on Patreon at patreon.com/NickRawcliffe. So I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested in that as well. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, have a good one.